Previously on Yu-Gi-Oh!
We are closer than brothers. Now we have to fight each other.
So now Pegasus is defeated, Bakura's definitely back to normal, Kaiba and Mokuba are back in their bodies, and Granddad's all better. Looks like everything is back to normal now.
Hey! Huh? I've got something to say to you. That is, if you're who I think you are.
What in the world?
Oh, right. Rebecca. She is apparently the new American dueling champ since Bandit Keith is MIA. And she's pissed because she says Granddad stole her Blue Eyes White Dragon. You know, the one Kaiba tore up in episode 1. So, yeah, you're not getting that back. She's an annoying brat, so she demands a duel with Granddad, but since he just got out of the hospital, Yugi decides to duel her instead. Which is actually kind of a significant duel because this is the first time Yugi duels all by himself, not using Yami at all. And he would have won too, but surrenders instead to teach Rebecca a lesson or something. I don't really care. I don't like Rebecca. So let's forget about that. Remember that whole Pegasus teaming up with the suits at Kaiba Corp thing? Yeah, that didn't work out, so Kaiba's back and fires all of them. Afterwards, he immediately decides to check out his state-of-the-art virtual dueling world. Mokuba says this might be a bad idea because maybe those 5 suits tampered with the game while you were gone. And Seto says, come on Mokuba, just because one of them does a Gendo Akari pose doesn't mean they have ill intentions. I'm sure they took their firing with grace. They didn't and trapped Kaiba in cyberspace. Digimon crossover? Nah, instead Mokuba gets Yugi and pals to help save Kaiba in the virtual world. Well, mainly Yugi and Joey, of course. Also, Mai is in the virtual world as a game tester. Okay. I'm going to skip this little adventure too. It's really not interesting. It's kind of boring and not really much matters in it. Like, yeah, it's funny. They go to a virtual world and do duel monster shenanigans. Haha. The only reason I'm still talking about it is at the end, Yugi and Kaiba team up and beat the 5 suits, trapping their minds in cyberspace. Because that's how that works. And as much as I don't want to talk about it, this plot point does come back up later. After that, a new game shop is in town called the New Game Shop, stealing all of Granddad's business at the game shop. And at the same time, there's a new transfer student at school. Wait, does Kaiba even go to school anymore? Duke Devlin, a new transfer student, arrives. He also owns the new game store. He's a teenager, and he immediately gets the attention of all the ladies. Joey doesn't like his attitude, especially when Duke dismisses him for Yugi, despite Joey being second place at Duelist Kingdom. So Joey challenges him to a duel. If Joey wins, Duke closes his shop, and if Duke wins, Joey becomes Duke's slave for a week. But Duke is not a duelist, he doesn't even have a deck. So the two decide to make a deck out of cards they open from booster packs, kind of like a sealed pool, if you've ever done one of those. And yo, look at the drip on the cheerleaders. Man, I wish I dressed that cool in the early 2000s. I mean, I did. So the two duel and Joey loses. I guess second place really isn't anything. Then Duke hits him with dice and makes him wear a dog suit. Man, he's into some kinky shit, huh? And I guess this is enough for Yami to come out. I don't think that's necessary. He challenges Duke to win Joey's freedom. But the game won't be a duel, instead it's an original game invented by Duke himself, Dungeon Dice Monsters. So I have actually at one point in my life played Dungeon Dice Monsters in real life and the digital GBA version. It's fun in the late game. The reason why you don't see it anymore is since it's dice, all of your moves are determined by luck, so a game can go really fast if one person rolls really well. Or if both roll badly, you just kinda sit there until something happens. I think if you let both players start with a monster at the beginning, the game would go a bit faster instead of having to constantly roll dice and just let Lady Luck figure things out. There you go, that's my review of Dungeon Dice Monsters, 7 out of 10. I'm not going to explain the rules of it, because it only appears in these episodes, but just know there are a lot of rules, so much so that in the first episode of their, not duel, I guess, battle, the entire first episode they play Dungeon Dice Monsters, it's mostly Duke explaining the rules. But he decides to leave out just enough so Yugi is at a pretty big disadvantage, because Duke happened to leave out very critical information. The reason why he's doing this is Duke looked up to Pegasus and was going to sell his game to him and make bank. Until, you know, Yugi happened and Pegasus disappeared. So now to get revenge, thinking Pegasus was a nice guy and all, and Yugi only won because he cheated, Duke is here to embarrass the new king of games by beating him in a game he never heard of and Duke invented and doesn't know the rules of. I don't know how that proves you're better than him, but alright. Now I think these are iconic several few episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because it's so different from dueling. I'm personally not that into it. Like I said, I'm just not into Dungeon Dice Monsters. I do love the way Yugi wins, though. Yugi reads the rules. Seriously, he uses the little laptop next to him to Google the rules, which I guess Duke didn't think he'd do since he thought Yugi cheated. And it turns out reading the rules gets Yugi the dub. Wow, Duel Monsters player reading? There's a first for everything, I guess. At the end, of course, they all forgive Duke for being a dick, and they're friends, and Pegasus' company, Industrial Illusions, just so happens to email Duke at the same time to say they're moving forward with their partnership. Hooray! Okay, let's get back to some children's card games. All these ancient Egyptian shadow games has made Yugi become pretty wary of all these people trying to take his Millennium Puzzle, so he makes a chain for it so it'll be harder to steal. Anyway, his Millennium Puzzle gets stolen on the way to school by a mysterious man. Yugi goes after him, and Taya goes to get help, and tells good old Bakura about it on her way to get Joey and Tristan. If you don't remember, Bakura is not Bakura, he's Evil Bakura, and Evil Bakura doesn't like the news that someone's taking his bit of stealing Millennium items. Yugi catches up with the Crook, who of course will give the Millennium Puzzle back if Yugi can win in a duel. So that's right, Yugi's gotta play a shadow game by himself without the Pharaoh. And Yugi notices during the duel some familiar machine monsters. Wait a minute. That's Pegasus! Oh, it's Bandit Keith. I thought he went back to America. But something is wrong, that's not Bandit Keith. Someone is controlling his mind. Luckily, Yugi manages to get through Bandit Keith, sort of, while still managing to win the duel. You know, again, pretty cool to see Yugi duel without the Pharaoh, showing he's pretty competent without him. He's a good duelist himself. That's when this mind controller talks to Yugi and says if he can't have it, then no one can, and smashes the puzzle. Luckily, Bakura comes in to save the day, and helps Yugi pick up all the pieces. But not before he slips a little bit of himself into one of the pieces through, magic. And then Bandit Keith, back to normal, but not cool with the whole mindfuck, freaks out and causes a fire. While Bakura skedaddles, Yugi tries to put the puzzle back together and rip it off the hook. Luckily, the boys arrive to help save the day, and while Yugi and the puzzle are safe, looks like a new evil is here. Of course, Kaiba doesn't care about any of that. He's busy running a company. Until the most underrated waifu, the sexy, Marik Ishtar, is holding an Egyptian exhibit in Domino City, and she uses her Millennium item, the Millennium Necklace, to lure Kaiba to the museum with the promise of power, of course. Shizu then exposits to Kaiba about the ancient origins of duel monsters and that he has a fate he can't escape, as he is the reincarnation of an ancient sorcerer named Seto, who was in a conflict with the pharaoh of the time, who looks exactly like Yugi, Kaiba notices. Kaiba of course doesn't give a shit about any of this history lesson, nor does he care about fate or whatever, until Shizu tells him, well, what if I told you a way to beat the almighty Exodia? The Egyptian God cards. Duel monsters so powerful that when Pegasus made them for the game, they were too powerful and he had to seal them away to never be used. Until a group called the Rare Hunters raided the tomb and stole the God cards. So Shizu needs Kaiba and all his cash and power to hold a tournament, a big gathering where all the best duelists and all the rarest cards will be there, so that the Rare Hunters would have no choice but to come out, and then Kaiba can swoop in and take back the God cards for himself. And to make sure Kaiba can get them and know Shizu is on the up and up, she gives him her God card, the one they didn't take, Obelisk the Tormentor. Although she says she expects it back, which, sure, Kaiba will definitely return this amazing card that will destroy Exodia, yeah, of course. And he begins to prepare for his big tournament. Meanwhile, Yami's feeling kinda sad that he can't remember anything about his past. And I guess Yugi thinks Taya can help him for some reason. I guess he expects her to just give him a speech about friendship and he'll feel better. I mean, I guess it technically worked for him. So Yami and Taya kind of go on a date to a game shop and an arcade like a bunch of nerds. There, Taya gets into some beef with some jobber that she beats at a dance game, and then Yugi beats him in a duel. Okay.
Using Witch of the Black Forest and Lady of Faith together to create a whole new rock and rollin' entity better known as the Musician King.
Meanwhile, Kaiba busts out the first official duel disc to try out his Egyptian God card. Yeah, it's pretty good. Meanwhile, which we're also doing a meanwhile, there's a lot of stuff happening at once, okay? Back to Yami and Taya, who decide to head to that Egyptian exhibit that's in town, where the sexiest curator ever, Shizu, tells Yami all of it, that he was once a great pharaoh in ancient Egypt. And for reasons that I guess even she doesn't know because she doesn't tell him, he sealed himself away in the Millennium Puzzle along with his memories. And that a great evil person named Marik is planning on using the Egyptian God cards and his puzzle to destroy the world. And of course Kaiba is somehow involved. Leaving the museum, Yugi and Taya run into Mai again, along with some other familiar faces from Duelist Kingdom, who are all here, of course, for Kaiba's tournament, which he calls Battle City. Yugi enters because he realizes he has to face his destiny, get the God cards, and find out more about his past.
Don't forget to register and pick up your duel disc because exactly 1 week from today, my Battle City tournament begins. You're on, Kaiba.
You know who isn't entering? Joey, because only duelists with actual results can enter. Despite coming in second, Kaiba, doesn't like Joey, so he doesn't allow him to enter. But the person registering him is a rare hunter in disguise who wants that Red Eyes Black Dragon he's got. So he wang-jangles some stuff on the computer, and Joey is now officially entered into the tournament. Joey can't go build the deck now because his sister Serenity is about to get her eye operation, and he promised he'd be there for her. Too bad Joey gets caught by some rare hunters who force him to duel. At first, Joey looks like he has it in the bag, because all the rare hunter does is draw cards. Pfft, what could he possibly draw that will get him out of—
I summon Exodia, the Forbidden One!
No way! It's all over! Not Exodia!
Oh, well, shit. Well, as for Joey, who got his ass beat and loses his red eyes. But worst of all, his Emoto is all sad, because he didn't keep his promise. Luckily, thanks to Tristan, Joey shows up in time and tells Serenity, "Listen sis, a children's card game is definitely more important than you and some stupid promise. But I guess if it means that much to you, I'll stay here until you get your operation done." The next day, I think, they don't really specify the time, a big Battle City tournament starts. How the tournament works is that you can't deny a duel if you are challenged to one, and each contestant has a locator card. If you win the duel, you get their locator card. Collect 6 of them if I remember right, and then you'll be entered into the finals. Also, as a special rule, because Kaiba's looking for the god cards, you have to ante up your rarest card, and if you lose, then the winner gets your card. Joey, looking for revenge, immediately finds the rare hunter that jacked him. He challenges him to a duel, but the rare hunter doesn't give a crap about Joey anymore now that he has his red eyes. But he is interested in Yugi's Dark Magician, and Yugi challenges him to get Joey's red eyes back. But Joey can't tell him about Exodia, or else the rare hunter will tear up the red eyes. Yugi does eventually figure out the strategy himself, and is able to beat him due to the fact that the rare hunter built his deck around drawing Exodia and has no other win conditions. So by making sure he has no access to Exodia and can't draw, Yugi wins the duel, getting red eyes back. Tier 0 deck my ass. Then Marik takes over Exodia-chan to taunt Yugi some more, saying he's got more rare hunters out there with even worse and less consistent strategies. There's no way he can lose. Yugi tries to give Joey his red eyes back, but Joey says he should keep it because he earned it, and he promises to win it back though from Yugi after the tournament. And they go their separate ways to get their cards so they can beat Marik. So Joey better get on that, and his first opponent is Esperoba, a self-proclaimed psychic. And he must be good, he just beat Rex Raptor. But Joey's dealt with a fake psychic before, so he accepts. And he's right, because Esperoba is no psychic, he's getting the information on his opponent's hands from his brothers, who are hiding behind their opponent on a building far away. But they mess up and get caught by Mokuba, who is kinda like the judge of this tournament. I don't know why Kaiba decided to put his fucking 10-year-old brother that no one's gonna respect or even listen to as the judge. But screw me, he has money, I guess. Esperoba doesn't need powers, fake or otherwise, though, because he has probably one of the most iconic cards from this season, and maybe even all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Jinzo! Which, if you played the card game during this time, you remember being a bane to everyone's existence, because it can destroy and negate all traps on the field, which puts Joey on the back foot. But thanks to a chance card, which are a lot of Joey's cards, he wins, getting Roba's Jinzo and his first locator card. Meanwhile, Lugi is lured into a duel by Arcana, another rare hunter, who isn't just doing this for Marik, it's also because he wants to be the master of the card, the Dark Magician, so he needs to beat Yugi for that to happen. And so Marik can also revive his lost love, it's like a side thing, it doesn't really matter, to throw down, answering each other card for card, showing that they are both masters of dark magic. I know you all remember this duel too, not because of the Dark Magician off, or rare hunters, or saw blades that get turned into soul blades that don't cut off your feet, they send you to the Shadow Realm because 4 kids. No, we remember this duel because Yugi wins it with a certain card. A very special card that no doubt moved a lot of packs. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. It's a duel about Dark Magician. You can see her behind me. Yep, break out the tissues, boys.
Say hello to Dark Magician Girl!
I mean, what more needs to be said? What other card in all of Duel Monsters helped duelists get through their standby phase of puberty more than this lady? Well, maybe Japanese Persinatrix. Of course, Yugi wins, since Dark Magician Girl gets a boost for every Dark Magician in the graveyard, and Arcana, who doesn't respect his cards, sacrificed his earlier, so Heart of the Cards wins the day once again. Next, Joey faces Weevil after meeting up with Granddad, Taya, and Tristan. And, look, I'll talk about it in a bit, but Joey's duels are not that interesting to me. I mean, Joey does get underwooded as Weevil, using some kid, decides to cheat by slipping a card in Joey's deck, which helps him out. I don't know why Mokuba didn't show up for this, too, because that's gotta be against the rules. But it doesn't matter, because Joey ends up winning anyway, getting Weevil's powerful Insect Queen. Anyways, back to the stuff that matters. Marik is on his way to Battle City himself, but why wait, as he possesses Maimi here to duel Yugi right now. And the cool thing about Marik, and something that makes him a legitimate threat, is that he's not sitting around. He's not here just waiting for Yugi to show up at his castle like Pegasus. Nah, he's here to fucking murder. send him to the Shadow Realm. He's planning on beating Yugi here, as he's given Quiet Man one of his Egyptian god cards, Slifer the Sky Dragon, which has attack equal to the amount of cards in his hand, and mixed with his Revival Jam, his card of Safe Return, and Infinite cards, which removes the hand size limit, Marik has an unbeatable combo. Also, Marik shows another iconic card, probably even more iconic than Dark Magician Girl, if you can believe it, which isn't popular because of boobs, popular because nobody knows what it does.
I activate Pot of Greed. This card allows me to draw 2 new cards. Greed is good.
Maybe we'll find out someday. Not even Yugi knows what Pot of Greed does anymore, so he decides he's gonna give up, as there's no way to beat it. That's when Kaiba arrives to egg on Yugi. Wow, what a pal. But of course, it's Kaiba. He actually doesn't care about Yugi or what's going on. He just wants Yugi to win so he can see how Yugi beats Slifer, so that Kaiba can use that strategy against Yugi when he inevitably uses it against him. Gotta love Kaiba. And Yugi does figure it out and beats Marik in a pretty cool way, as he realizes Marik built his deck to draw cards and nothing else. So what happens if he keeps drawing? That's right, Yugi uses one of my personal favorite win cons in card games, decking out his opponent by making him draw all of the cards in his deck. Yugi uses his brain control to take Marik's Revival Jam. Slifer's other effect activates, which deals damage to it, destroying it. And it constantly revives back to Yugi's field, which is not how brain control works, to constantly be destroyed, and since it technically is removed from Marik's graveyard, he has to keep drawing from his card of Safe Return, in an infinite loop, which makes him draw his entire deck. Seriously, probably the most creative and interesting way anyone's won a duel so far. This is one of my favorite duels in this whole series. Like, you notice how I went into more detail here? That's because this duel was won with strategy, not just heart of the cards and making up bullshit like anime waifus. Every duel is like this, I talk about them more, but really it's just one with anime waifus most of the time. Yugi may have beaten this mind slave, but Marik has arrived at Battle City, and he tells Yugi, well, looks like you ruined another good one. Luckily, I know you've got some friends that would make some good mind puppets. Which angers Kaiba, not because Yugi's friends are in danger, but because he was about to challenge Yugi right after this duel so he can get Slifer. But Yugi runs off to save his friends from becoming Steves.
My friends are in great danger, and their safety is more important to me than anything in this world.
Speaking of his friends, what are they up to? Oh, they're watching Joey face Mako Tsunami. So look, with no sister to fight for, really, I mean, Serenity's fine, she got her operation, she's basically blind right now, waiting to heal up. Joey has nothing to do this tournament, and since Yugi's busy fighting all the rare hunters, they just give him Yugi's Sloppy Seconds and Esperoba. And the only thing during this duel with Mako I liked is that Joey is dumb and forgot to take out that card Weevil slipped in his deck to cheat. That was kind of funny. And this.
I play the magic card, Pot of Greed. It allows me to draw 2 cards from my deck.
Otherwise, it's mid at best. See, the problem is, Joey really has no reason to be here at this tournament. Yes, it's more of a pride friendship thing, as he's here to help Yugi beat Marik and also get his red eyes back from Yugi. It's sort of a mutual respect kind of thing, you know, I help you out, I fight you, friendship, Shonen Jump. But in terms of stakes, who cares if Joey loses or gets knocked out? Like, nothing's gonna happen. In Duelist Kingdom, it made sense, because every duel mattered. If he lost, Serenity's fucked. It's his sister. You get it. Here, I don't care if Joey loses, like, who gives a shit? I guess that's why his duels are a bit more comedic in nature. They're meant to be more of this, I guess, fun reprieve from all the serious dueling Yugi's doing. And like, I'm not saying I need life or death stakes in every duel, as long as it's interesting. But Joey's duels are not really that interesting. It's more made-up Yu-Gi-Oh bullshit. Luckily for me, this is the last of Joey's duels, as beating Mako gets him enough locator cards to enter the finals. And look at that, Serenity is finally ready to take her bandages off. Hooray. So Tristan goes to get her. Meanwhile, oh, I kind of forgot about Bakura. Yep, Evil Bakura is here too, because he's interested in a new Millennium item he sensed, Marik's Millennium Rod. But Marik decides to make him an offer, help him get the God cards and revenge on the Pharaoh, and Bakura gets the Millennium items. Because Marik really has no need for them, he's only here to get revenge on the Pharaoh. Sounds like a cool bromance to me, so they fake Bakura getting attacked so Granddad can skedaddle with him to the hospital. So Marik can be alone with Joey and Taya going under the fake name Namu, and tricks them so he can do a little bit of a brain control of himself. Luckily for Yugi, Kaiba has agreed to help find his cheerleaders by using the Kaiba Corp satellites, on the condition that once they're safe, Yugi has to duel Kaiba. But when they arrive at the aquarium Joey was dueling at, it's too late, and to top it all off, they kidnap Mokuba. Wow, he sure gets kidnapped a lot. And in order to save all the cheerleaders, Yugi and Kaiba go to the roof of a big shopping mall, I think that's what it is, to duel Loomis and Umbra, 2 rare hunters in a tag duel. Been a while since we've had one of those. Remember what I said about duels being interesting with Joey and how they're not? This is an example of how you can make a duel interesting. I mean, yes, there are life and death stakes, as if they lose, all their life points go to a counter that activates a bomb that makes them fall to their deaths. well, it makes them fall into the Shadow Realm because 4 kids. It's inherently interesting without that because it's Kaiba and Yugi teaming up and having to work together. That's perfect. It just writes itself. Like, you want to see that. It's exactly what you want too, as Kaiba has no intention of working with Yugi at all, planning on winning this with his own strategies so he can save Mokuba, while of course throwing the darkest of shade that he can.
We can play off the strengths of each other's cards and work as a team as well as you can, Rare Hunters.
No thanks. Teamwork is for Boy Scouts and nursery schools, Yugi.
Meanwhile, Loomis and Umbra are a perfect duo, with one summoning monsters while the other uses magic cards to back him up. And with their masked monsters, it's looking all over. Meanwhile, Mokuba has been taken to another castle where Taya is being held, and she helps him escape, leaving her and Joey to be taken over by Marik. But Marik is being careful not showing his real face to them, instead making them think that his crony, Odeon, is actually Marik, just in case this whole mind control thing doesn't work out. What's also not working out is the tag duel. Things aren't looking good for Duel Monster's favorite odd couple.
The magic card, Pot of Greed! Thanks to this card, I can now draw 2 new cards from my deck, Kaiba.
Until Kaiba uses that mouth of his for good, by turning Loomis and Umbra against each other by making them start doubting each other's strategies. And with that, Kaiba and Yugi begrudgingly manage to work together, and they manage to take out Loomis and Umbra. I forget which is which. And before the other one really loses, Marik takes him over to taunt the Pharaoh some more about how he's got his friends, neener, neener, neener. And the masked duo, I guess, were technically part of the tournament, so they got the locator cards, and Yugi and Kaiba now have enough to make it to the finals. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Kaiba is also a participant in this tournament. I didn't mention it because I kind of figured it was obvious. I mean, it's Kaiba. I think he's not going to participate in his own tournament. That's when Mokuba arrives, having escaped to take our boys to the dock he escaped from to save Joey and Taya. They make it to the docks where brainwashed Taya is waiting for the Pharaoh, and he lures Yugi to brainwash Joey and forces them to duel. And that's not the end of it, because chained to their legs are, well, chains that lead to an anchor that are tied to a box that is locked and linked to their life points, and only when their life points reach 0 do they get dragged down to the ocean and die. While the winner's box opens where a key to free their legs is. And no, you don't get dragged to the Shadow Realm, I said die. This is probably the first and only time in Yu-Gi-Oh! They don't say Shadow Realm. Someone's gonna die. At this point, even Kaiba is like, okay, this is a bit too contrived, and tries to call off the duel, but Marik predicted this and instead has Taya locked to a chair with a giant metal thing above her hanging from a crane that one of Marik's goons will drop if someone tries to interfere with the duel. Wow. I fucking love this anime. During all that, Marik's rare hunters are also trying to get Tristan, who's with Joey's sister Serenity, who's not taking her bandages off from her surgery because she wants Joey to be the first thing she sees. I've seen way too much anime to read into the subtext of Serenity's obsession with Joey. Luckily for them, Duke Devlin shows up out of nowhere to help them escape. They then run into Mai, who thankfully can drive, because I forget a lot of these guys are teenagers and she's an adult. And she takes them to where the Dark Duel is taking place. This right here, this is peak. When I think of OG Yu-Gi-Oh!, I usually think of this duel, the Yugi versus Brainwashed Joey. This, to me, is the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Will ever be. It just encapsulates everything we love about Yu-Gi-Oh! It's got the hokey melodrama, with Yugi being the one to duel Joey, not the Pharaoh, and he uses friendship and Joey's red eyes that he gave him to free Joey from the brain control, ending with Joey sacrificing himself to save Yugi. And of course, at the exact time, that's when Serenity decides to remove her bandages to dive in and save Joey. A soap opera wishes it could have writing of that caliber. And then there's the overcomplicated anchor points thing, Taya being trapped. Shit that's just so stupid. Why can't Marik just say, duel me or I'll break their minds or something? What's with the Rube Goldberg machine of death? And then of course the duel itself is great because it's mostly Yugi trying to figure out how he can lose so Joey can live. Yeah, the whole time Yugi never planned on winning the duel. He wanted to figure out a way to free Joey, and when he loses, he gives Joey the puzzle so that Noah can get it. That's just friendship right there, baby. And this to me is why I love this anime. I hope it's why a lot of people love this anime. I don't know if it's more the staff, maybe Takahashi's writing or something, but this just hits all the points of what makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Great so hard, it becomes the hypest shit you've ever seen. While I like Duelist Kingdom, Battle City is my favorite arc in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's a lot of people's favorite. And this duel is kind of a big reason. Like, if this duel didn't exist, it probably would go down a lot. There are other reasons like Battle City I'll get into, but this duel specifically it's Yu-Gi-Oh, man. How do you not like it? Well, Kaiba doesn't like it. He doesn't care about any of this friendship stuff, even though he did help save Taya. And he says, well, fuck your ancient Egyptian games and friendship and all that junk. Beat me at the finals, Yugi. Gotta love Kaiba. Meanwhile, evil Bakura is having some trust issues with this new partnership he's formed with Marik, since, you know, he just failed for like the 3rd time. But Marik says, nah bro, trust me, I got you bro, and now tasks Bakura with stealing a duel disc and some locator cards so that Bakura can be there to help him in the finals. Luckily for Bakura, after borrowing a disc from some jobber, in a nearby graveyard, Bones and those 2 losers from Bandit Keith's crew are stealing locator cards from randos. Well, sounds like a good chance to send some losers to the Shadow Realm.
I'm afraid you don't stand a ghost of a chance in a duel against me.
Back to the cheerleaders, who are now with Mai, who also made it to the finals by the way, use their cards that points them to the big stadium in town. But on the way there, a big famous actor is here. For Mai, as she beat him in a duel a while ago, and they made a deal. If he comes back and beats her ass, then she has to marry him? Which, fun fact, and kind of spoilers for something I'm going to talk about later, unfortunately, this is the only time we see Mai win a full duel, fair and square, on screen. And it's some jobber in this one episode we will never see again. Yeah, Mai, gets a little screwed over in this show. I'll talk more about that in about 80 episodes or so. So forget that, for now it's time for the finals. Our top 8 includes Kaiba, of course, Yugi, Joey, Mai, Bakura, which surprises everyone, Marik, going under the name Namu, remember no one knows he's Marik, and Odion, who is going under the name Marik to fool everyone else. But mysteriously, the 8th contestant doesn't show up until the end, and it turns out it's a Shizu, who's wearing a mask, I think, trying to disguise herself, even though I'm pretty sure everyone knows it's a Shizu. I mean, come on, girl, you think anyone's looking at that mask with those curves? The entire finals will take place aboard Kaiba's Super Blimp, and first up is Yugi versus Bakura. And right away, Yugi deduces, wait, Bakura sucks. He couldn't have made it to the finals. And yep, the Spirit of the Ring shows up to duel. And despite using his OP Dark Sanctuary and Destiny board cards, Yugi wins, not with friendship, but with a giant ancient dragon with godlike abilities. I mean, I guess that's a little better than friendship. But the League of Super Evil has a plan. Using Odion disguised as Marik, they pretend he was controlling Bakura the whole time, and releases him from being a Steve. And the Spirit of the Ring goes back, leaving regular Bakura up there. And the only way Kaiba is going to stop the duel is if Yugi wins to attack Pussy Bakura with Slifer, which he can't do because Bakura will die, I guess. So Bakura is about to win by default, but evil Bakura's got some plans of his own as he decides to swap places with regular Bakura one last time so Yugi can win. And seeing that, Marik realizes this bromance is over. After the duel, the real Slim Shady shows up again to tell us, honestly, stuff we already know. He just tells us that Pegasus made the god cards after discovering them in a tomb, but then sealed them away after he realized their destructive power. This was useless. He tells us stuff we already know. Like, literally, there's no new information here. This was a huge waste of time. Thanks for nothing, bud. The next match is Joey versus Odion. I mean, Marik. Remember, everyone thinks he's Marik. Joey, of course, is more than happy because he wants to get revenge for getting brainwashed. During this, we learn Odion's backstory. He's not just some jobber working for Marik. He's technically Marik's brother, being adopted by Marik's family as a child, and acted mostly as a servant, trying his best to serve Marik, even getting those face tattoos as a symbol of his loyalty or something. More importantly, the duel is going pretty well for Joseph. At first, with even him summoning all the cards he won throughout the tournament at once. But that won't work when Marik/Odion is about to summon his god card, the Winged Dragon of Ra, the most powerful Egyptian god card. And Joey, after losing his best cards, has nothing and has been drawing nothing, his hands bricked. But he says, despite the fact that Odion has a literal Egyptian god card and he has fuck all, Joey's not gonna lose the duel. What? Joey, I think all this hype is getting to your head. But he's right, as Odion is not strong enough to control an Egyptian god card, and Ra's power goes berserk, knocking him and Joey out. With Joey being the first one to wake up, so Kaiba rules that he wins by default, I guess, since Odion is now in a coma. And Marik is not down to clown with the fact that he just saw Odion, who's the one person in the whole world who's been kind to him and has followed him loyally, kinda die. So he snaps, and this allows the evil parts of Marik to fully take over, giving him stupid Super Saiyan-like hair and talking with a voice filter.
I'm the true Marik, and I'm not as kind as the one you've come to know.
After all that nonsense, oh yeah, Mai's here. Kinda forgot about that. And Joey talks about how when he was knocked out, he dreamt about all of his friends getting him to wake up. And when Mai asks if she was there, Joey lies for some reason and says she wasn't, because we need a contrived reason for Mai to act the way she does in her duel against Marik. Yes, the real Marik this time. And he wastes no time turning this duel into a good old shadow game. Yugi and the rest try to help Mai with some advice, but because of Joey's comment, she's now adamant to do this alone with no help like she's always been doing. Told you it was contrived. But Marik takes full advantage of this plot convenience by making it so every time Mai loses a monster, she loses a memory of one of her friends. Cause, you know, she said she didn't need them. Wow, who knew Marik was so... ironic.
I'll play this, my Pot of Greed, a magic card that allows me to draw 2 more cards from my deck.
Despite the disadvantages though, Mai manages to use some cards to get control of Marik's Winged Dragon of Ra. But Ra is a bit different than the other Egyptian gods. It has a bunch of rules and prerequisites in order to summon it. So she can't even use it. So Marik manages to gain control of it and is about to finish off Mai, but Joey and Yugi come in to rescue her. But it's too late, as Mai has still lost the duel and is now trapped in the Shadow Realm. F. Okay, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about Mai and how much she sucks. Like, everyone is always saying she's a good duelist. Even Kaiba, of all people, says so in this duel about how good Mai is.
But it remains to be seen if she has the experience necessary to wield a card of such power. She's definitely a good duelist, but is she good enough?
Well, like I said before, besides that actor jobber who we're never going to see again, every duel we have seen Mai in, she loses. She lost to Joey, she lost to Yugi, Marik. Technically, she's even lost to Taya. That's sad. And I don't like this because I actually do like Mai as a character. I'm not just talking about because she's hot. But I actually like her personality, how she is, how she acts. She's sometimes a good moment of levity amongst all the sad ancient Egyptian stuff. And remember, she is a real one. She went out of her way to help Yugi get some star chips when he was almost knocked out of the tournament, and gave Joey her glory card. Let's not forget her helping out Serenity, Tristan, and Duke the other day. She's a good person who I want to see good things happen to her, but man, does she just get the short end of the stick in this show. And I'm not even talking about this arc. She gets done even dirtier later on, if you believe it or not. She's not the only character either. Anyway, it's time for the last match, as it's Kaiba versus the mysterious finalist who no one has seen, as it's a Shizu, obviously, but she's been kind of hiding away in the back of the blimp the whole time. But let's be real, everyone figures it out right away. I mean, how can you mistake that body? Kaiba obviously doesn't care about the sexy Egyptian woman in front of him. He cares about winning this children's card game, and he's pretty confident about it too. Mainly because he's going to use his god card she gave him to win, which of course, beating a Shizu with a card she gave him gives Kaiba the hugest boner. Again, Kaiba, you're getting hard for the wrong reasons when dueling against a Shizu, but I don't kink shame. However, next to Pegasus, a Shizu's Millennium Necklace gives her the most broken ability you can have when playing a children's card game, as she has the ability to see the future, which of course allows her to predict all of Kaiba's moves and plan accordingly. She basically has all the information all the time. Throughout the whole duel, Shizu constantly is trying to convince Kaiba to forget all this tournament and stuff, as there's something way bigger going on and that he needs to accept his destiny and help Yugi. And Kaiba of course says, "Screw destiny, I have money." But the whole duel goes like a Shizu predicted, even sending a countermeasure for when Kaiba eventually summons Obelisk, which you don't need to see the future for that. Obviously Kaiba's going to summon Obelisk. Until, right when he's about to attack with it, a strange sensation comes over him, and Marik's Millennium Rod reacts to Kaiba dueling. Which, all of a sudden, Kaiba gets this strange urge that he doesn't need to use Obelisk. Instead, he needs to summon his Blue Eyes? The worst card? What? Well, yeah, Kaiba does something I don't think anyone expected Kaiba to do, sacrificing his strongest monster, Obelisk, to summon Blue Eyes and change fate, beating a Shizu. Shizu's not sad about this, though, because she says Kaiba had that vision and was able to win due to tapping into his ancient ancestry. Kaiba's like, I've never done Ancestry.com. I won because I'm a fucking genius. He's so much of a genius that now all of a sudden, he can read ancient Egyptian script, as he can now read the Egyptian text that's on the Ra card, and now knows how to beat it since he actually read the card. Again, Yu-Gi-Oh player reading the card. Totally unrealistic, my immersion is broken. After the duel, my wife exposits to Yugi and pals about Marik's past, that her and Marik are siblings, raised in a family whose purpose is to guard the pharaoh's tomb until he returns. But Marik does not like the fact that he has to live his entire life trapped in a hole, and wants to be free and live in the outside world. But his dad has other plans and forces Marik to undergo a ceremony to make him the new guardian of the pharaoh's tomb, forever. And this, along with Marik's hatred for the pharaoh that's built up over years, is what awakened Marik's evil side originally. One day though, Shizu does take Marik out into the outside world to experience such horrors like daytime television. But when they return, they see their father beating Odeon, blaming him for Marik's degeneracy, and is about to exile him for failing to watch over Marik. And this is what gets Marik's evil side to come out in full force for the first time, when he takes the Millennium Rod and sends his own dad to the Shadow Realm. And now Marik has one goal, to destroy the pharaoh. But Odeon's presence is the only thing that kept Marik's evil side suppressed, and Shizu thought the only way to stop Marik was to destroy both Mariks originally. But after her duel with Kaiba, she now knows fate can be changed, and asks Yugi to save his good side while defeating the evil side. How do they do that? I don't know. But good Marik ain't going down yet, as some of his spirit is still inside Taya from that brainwashing time, and he returns the Millennium Ring to Bakura, and now joins with the spirit of the ring to take down evil Marik. In exchange, Bakura will get the Millennium Rod. So now it's Marik versus Bakura. It's unfortunately not as interesting as it sounds. Bakura loses, and the spirit of the ring and good Marik are banished to the Shadow Realm. And I'm sure we'll never see evil Bakura again. Okay, I can't even make that joke, because if you remember, evil Bakura slipped a little bit of his jizz inside of the Millennium Puzzle at the beginning of this arc, so yeah, he's still technically around somewhere. Who cares about any of that, because we got our top 4 now, man. It's time for the Battle City Finals. We got Yugi, Kaiba, Marik, and Joey. The 3 characters that matter, and Joey, all together to duel it out, to save the world, and of course prove who's the real king of games. And I mean, look, what do I have to say? You've been seeing this, I've been telling you about it. The Battle City arc is iconic for a reason. It's one of the most well-known things of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's great. It's well written, it's got great characters, a great villain in Marik. Even some duels are pretty cool, with the one of Yugi versus Joey, as well as the one with Yugi versus Marik when he uses the mill strategy. That's cool. I like that. Also, Marik is such a good villain, like, he's such a fucking asshole, man. Even more so than Pegasus. Like, I just love the fact that Marik just will not fuck around. He's here, he wants to get that puzzle right away, so he's willing to do anything to get it. Where Pegasus was more content to just kind of let Yugi flop around and struggle, Marik is like, nope, I'm gonna fuck with you here and make sure you go down, and you go down hard. Like, he's so good. I'm a little less into the evil Marik, but we'll talk about that later. And then, of course, I mean, it's the arc that gives us a Shizu and Dark Magician Girl. I mean, but look, enough of that. I'll talk more about it when this arc is officially over. Let's get to the Battle City Finals, baby!
Greetings, duelists! There's nothing wrong with your television set. I'm in control now. So from now on, I'll be calling the shots around here. And my first order of business is to put an end to your little card game. The name is Noah, and you and I go back quite a long way, Seto.
What?
I'm afraid my games have only just begun, you fool.